Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Corner Office with just a regular sports update. We don't have a ton of special guests on today or anything like that we can bring you, but we are going to do, our classic J&A, just talk through a lot of the stuff that's been, you didn't like that, did you?
J&A is a new one for sure. Let us know in the comments if you mess with J&A.
Yo, hit that follow button. But so we're going to be talking NBA, some NFL stuff, and then we'll get you out of here with, of course, our picks and our predictions for this upcoming week. We were really hot 2 weeks ago. I think we both went 5-0. I went 5-0 last week.
It was a 10-0 group slate.
Jack went 5-0. Yeah, or Jack went 4-1 the week after that. So it was we were really, really picking well, and then this week kind of just broke that.
It banged us. It really did.
Hammer.
Yeah.
There were a lot of big spreads on games, a lot of games that we just did not predict correctly. The Chiefs cannot play fun football. We'll get to this a little bit later. But right now, I'm super stoked that the NBA is back because there is so much sports going on. Obviously, first and foremost, I think we have to make a statement and shout out the Los Angeles Dodgers for winning the World Series last night. Came back from 5 runs down in the 5th inning, one of the most cataclysmic 5th innings of baseball I have ever seen in my life.
It was horrible.
As somebody who, as Red Sox fans, we're both happy to say, the Yankees lose.
The Yankees lose.
And,
you like that video, dude?
Yeah, keep it pushing. Keep it pushing. I've said that so much this week. There you go.
It's so much better that it's Big Papi. Big Papi was so funny because he's supposed to be completely unbiased in his job, and he went on Fox Sports every night and trolled the Yankees so hard.
With Derek Jeter and A-Rod, next to him.
Yankee royalty next to him.
Yeah. I mean, so this series, was it bad for small market baseball? Yes. It sucked as a mutual fan to watch the 2 biggest teams in baseball history duke it out. It's big pharma is the basic, this is big baseball, right? This is not small market. It wasn't fun. I didn't want to see either of these teams win, but obviously we have, some Red Sox connections to Mookie Betts, Dave Roberts. I wanted
Ryan
the Dodgers
Brazier.
to win.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I
wanted the Dodgers to win just so that it was Boston came together, and I don't know if this is sad or if this is good for our community. We came together to in hatred, just in spite. It was actually pretty sad, but Red Sox fans
it was a little sad.
They were rejoicing when the Yankees lost last night.
So happy. Best night of my life. And by my life, I mean, probably not even top 50, but it was,
I don't think it was top.
It was
I don't
cool.
think it's in the top year, to be honest with you.
I was watching the game with Mets fans and then Yankees fans. And you know what? I don't feel remotely bad for the Yankees fans. They started Yankees Instagram social media stuff. They started posting the videos of the "Don't Let Us Get One" video, and I just think that's so friggin' ironic. That I had to mention it. I think it's funny. From the 2004 ALDS where the Red Sox beat the Yankees. I don't know. I thought it was great. But
my roommate last night, he's not a Yankees fan, but his dad was at the World Series game.
Okay.
And so he had been and his whole family's from New Jersey, so he had been supporting the Yankees the whole time. And in the 3rd inning, he goes, "Don't let us get hot, Jackie." And then 10 minutes later, I walked out and I was like, nah. Yeah, he was all
There we go. Yeah, I mean, so it was a good day.
Yeah, for sure.
Shout out Freddie Freeman winning the MVP. That home run in Game 1 was sick.
And the home run in Game 2 and Game 3 were equally cool.
And Game 4.
Yeah, his home runs in Games 1, 2, 3, and 4 were equally awesome. I will give a shout out to Giancarlo Stanton. I don't like his style of baseball. He had some of the coolest home runs this year. He had, I think, 8 home runs in this playoff run, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
Do you think we'll ever see Juan Soto in pinstripes again?
I don't know, dude. I don't know why you wouldn't pay him. Like I really don't know.
I mean, you can't do it.
You can't afford.
You can't afford Soto.
Offload?
Everyone. I mean, Soto's a maximum contract guy. They already have 3 of them, so you can't really afford to pay him.
Judge and who?
Garrett Cole.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Nestor Cortez not Nestor Cortez. Carlos Rodon is probably on a huge contract.
Okay.
So you can't afford to pay him. Jazz and Soto will probably walk this year.
And they'll get a bag from someone. I mean, Juan Soto is one of the only players on that. I like Aaron Judge too, but like Soto is one of those guys that I just really like, as a player. So I would love to see him not be a Yankee, but like
Soto, Judge, and Jazz Chisholm are 3 guys that I would love to see not be Yankees anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I don't see how you can let him go. Like the Dodgers, I don't understand baseball payment. Like the Dodgers just paid $2 billion for their roster. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like if they can like have that type of roster construction, I don't know why you can't just go band for band with that. But I understand that like once you get up there, you probably can't pay that much. But it would be a shame to see him walk in free agency. Did they trade for him this year or last year?
This year.
So they knew that they were getting a rental of Juan Soto.
Yeah, like, they gave up some huge bullpen pieces. I mean, they gave up Michael King, who was absolutely incredible. So
yeah,
I think the Padres actually did a good job with that. But that's the extent of our baseball knowledge, really.
Yeah, that's kind of all we have. I love watching playoff baseball. I was all in on the Mets. They were my second team this year for the
just a bad pick.
Who were you pulling for?
I mean, if you just dissed Big Pharma and you were like, yeah, I hate seeing the top 2 teams in roster, whatever, payroll go against each other. I wanted to see the 3rd highest team in roster payroll make it to the World Series. You're a hypocrite. I mean, they paid more. They paid more than the
perennial little brother.
I think that them and the Dodgers combined paid more than the entire National League combined.
That's good to know. I have some people to call then after this is over. Yeah. But my roommate was a Nets fan, so the games are always on, and I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll be a Mets fan for a few days. Can't say I really cared that much.
No.
But yeah, I mean, it's fun to watch the World Series, and it's even more fun when Boston's a part of it. Hopefully we'll figure it out and pay some players maybe next year. But now we're back to our regularly scheduled programming. We got a lot of NBA stuff to go over before we get to our NFL slate. And I just want to kick it off with a few quick questions about some of the teams that we've been seeing thus far. Obviously, there are teams at the top of the NFL, at the top of the NBA that I think we're pretty much set on. Being consistent contenders this year. One of those teams that I don't really have a great read on that seems to look really good right now is the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I was just wondering if I could get your take on how they've looked, because we talked earlier with George on the show the other day about their spacing issues, especially with Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. And I think Evan Mobley is starting to take that leap towards being a fringe all-star type of guy. But through 5 games this season, they're 5-0, and they've beat some pretty solid teams. They beat the Lakers. They decimated the Lakers the other night, and they've looked a lot more solid than I was expecting them to. They beat the Knicks, who was a team that we had at the top of the at the top of the Eastern Conference. So like I'm just wondering how you think their spacing issues have been addressed, and what you think about this Cavs team right now.
Well, this Cavs team went on a bit of a run last year. People are kind of forgetting about it. They were knocking on the door of being in that kind of top 4 range and fell out of it.
Yeah.
I think that if this Cavaliers team can continue to figure out their spacing, obviously they're 5-0 right now. They lead the league in 3-point percentage. They lead the league in field goal percentage. I don't see that staying, to be honest with you. I think they're on a heater right now, which is good for them to get out in front of it. But I don't think that stays. Their biggest concern, I think, if they can keep this field goal spacing, if they can continue to have an efficient offense, their biggest issue is going to be injuries. All 4 guys that they have averaging 15 points plus, which is Mitchell, Garland, Mobley, and Jarrett Allen. I think you're going to see Mobley and Donovan Mitchell average 20 this year. Those 4 guys have to stay healthy. I mean, you're getting 75-80% of your scoring out of those 4 guys. And if you're going to have them on the floor at all times, I don't see those guys staying healthy, especially since all of them are pretty injury prone.
Yeah, I think that they have a poor bench. I think having Isaac Okoro coming off the bench is probably not a bad thing for them because he does kind of give them a little bit of depth. I'm just kind of surprised that this team has looked so good so quickly, just because obviously you fired JB Bickerstaff last year after taking you to the playoffs, and you signed Kenny Atkinson, who is a solid head coach, I think,
He's a good coach.
NBA. He's proven to be very successful, but usually there is a brief time period where with a new head coach you have to learn a new system and do these new things, and that takes time to adapt to. But at the moment, they seem like they played really good offense. Last year, the thing with the Cavs was like their defense was really solid because they had that too big setup, and they weren't scoring. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like you said, like most of their offensive output is coming from a guy like Donovan Mitchell. Darius Garland is back and healthy, and I think if you're the Cavs, you need him to stay that way, like you just said. But if they can continue to put up 110, 115 points a game, like they put up 130 last night, like that was not a score.
I mean, they're second in the league in points per game behind us.
Which is not something that you were super anticipating, I think, if you were an NBA fan coming in this year. And as long as they can continue to be dominant on the defensive and on the glass, I think that they're going to be a pretty solid team for the upcoming season.
Yeah, I mean, one can hope, right? I mean, another team that's looked really good so far that no one thought was going to look good, Chicago Bulls. I mean, the season is starting. Their opening night graphic was Jalen Smith, Talen Horton-Tucker, and Josh Giddey. Those are the three people they put on there. I'm not saying that those guys are bad players, but I mean, come on. But so far the season, obviously Kobe White, you kind of know what you have with him now. Last year it was a huge development step for him. You kind of know what you're getting now.
Yep.
Nikola Vucevic apparently isn't too old to play basketball. This is another team that I think is kind of on a heater. I don't think that they could possibly continue to keep up at this rate. Yep. But, I mean, I think that they'd be a fun team to have be in that mix.
Yeah, I think that they're going to be an unsustainable team, especially when Zach LaVine requests a trade. I think that this is a team that is going to look to offload players and is going to look from development from a lot of these guys that we've kind of just talked about. Like, obviously, you see Kobe White take the step last year to being, I think probably their best player. He's looked really good through the first 5 games. I think you're expecting a guy like Matas Buzelis to have a bigger role going forward, but I don't really see what the direction of this Bulls team is other than to just try and blow it up and get rid of some of these pieces so that you can get some more draft capital, because I don't see them sustaining NBA playoff bubble potential. And even if they are in that 8, 9, 10 range, for me, it doesn't really do anything when you could be looking at a top 5 draft pick in a really deep class.
Yeah, no, I agree. They are the epitome of a team in the last 5 years that has had no direction.
Yeah.
A team that, for me, really, on the standings, they are last in the Eastern Conference. I talked about them last episode. I don't think they'll hang there. The Detroit Pistons are 1-4 right now. Their average loss differential is it's 12, 20, 32 divided by 4. It's 6, 8 points. I mean, it's not a lot. So they are in every game that they're playing. I think this team is going to be able to figure it out down the stretch. Another team that is surprisingly bad so far. I mean, both the Sixers and the Bucks have been really disappointing so far this season.
Yep.
Not for me as a Celtics fan.
I'm not surprised by the Sixers at all. I think you took an experiment on 2 very injury-prone players who are refusing to play back-to-backs, who have already suffered some minor thing that isn't allowing them to play. And now you're asking Tyrese Maxey to win games by pretty much himself.
He's averaging 31 points a game right now.
Their next best player with Tyrese Maxey in is Kelly Oubre. You know what I mean?
Who's averaging 19 points right now?
I understand that you want to save your players for the playoffs, right? I get that, but you got to be a playoff team. You know what I mean? I think Joel Embiid, he continues to find ways to make himself more unlikable, which is too bad because he is a really good player when he's healthy. But you gotta expect that your star players are going to be playing in games. You know what I mean? They've had some bad losses. They've lost to the Raptors, who's a team that I think is probably going to be up and coming for the next few years. but doesn't look like it has a super great direction right now. They lost to the Pistons, who's a team that we have been pretty high on, to be honest with you. But still, like, these are games you're expected to win, I think. You know what I mean? Your only win came against the Pacers in OT. You could easily be 0-4 right now. Easily.
I mean, in terms of like overall ranking, they are last in the NBA.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, I don't really know what you like. It's kind of too early to get a grasp. The last team I want to talk about in the East is the Orlando Magic, and with that being Paolo Banchero is off to an incredible start. I mean,
correct.
He has taken himself from being a 22 point per game scorer to like a 30 point per game guy, and he just seems to be the clear number one. He really just has the league in a chokehold right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I still don't know what this Magic's team ceiling is. You know what I mean? Like, I think that they cap out at like a 4 or a 5 seed in the Eastern Conference and maybe a second round playoff series. But Paolo Banchero is the prototype for what you want your players' jumps to look like, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that 50-point game the other night was dominant against a really good Pacers team. You know what I mean? This Pacers team is very solid. I think that, you know, Franz Wagner is a nice piece to have. I don't know if he can win you games as a second option. And I think that their guard play is continuing to get better, but isn't great as of right now.
Yeah.
I think the pickup of KCP, I like it. You know what I mean? I've said that for a while. It helps their floor spacing. But like, this team at their best is going to be when Paolo Banchero is on a heater and just has the ball in his hands. And he's also a guy that's kind of a triple-double threat most of the times that he's out there. You know, his 50-point game, he had 50, 13, and 9. You know what I mean? Like, those are really good stats.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if you can really win games when 50 of your 119 points are coming from one player. You know what I mean? Like, how sustainable that is as a team overall. Like, they missed a lot of open threes in that game. I watched it. So I think you're expecting some of these, you know, these role player guys, Jalen Suggs, Anthony Black, KCP, like, to step up and make some shots in these games. And when they do start falling, this team can be dangerous, and I think they will be.
Yeah, I mean, this team is not shooting well right now. KCP Correct. Especially, he's shooting 16% from 3, and that's like his job on the floor.
You're expecting to go up. You know what
right.
I mean?
I think that by the end of the season, you see him hovering at around 10 points. I think you see Anthony Black hovering at around 10 points. And then your bench is not great, but it's deep and it's efficient. Talking about the Bucks, I mean, they're 1-3 right now, and they're not just 1-3. They're 1-3 in embarrassing fashion. I mean, they got smoked by the Celtics. I mean, they had a lead for most of the game against the Celtics on Monday and then gave it away at the end. Which honestly was inexcusable from them. They lost to the Brooklyn Nets, Chicago Bulls, and Dallas Mavericks this year.
Yep.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was preseason. They have lost. They are 1-3. So they have lost to the Bulls, the Nets, and the Celtics. But, I mean, you don't expect them to lose to the Bulls and the Nets. And it wasn't by a little. It was a 10-point loss.
Yeah. They have looked out of sync thus far. The only real, you know, bright spot, obviously, being Giannis Antetokounmpo. But you have to... And Dame has looked okay in most of the games that they've played. I think their coaching is the issue. I think that getting rid of AJ Griffin Sr. was a really poor idea. He was the last person in that Bucks organization, despite how the locker room felt about him, that was winning you guys games. You know what I mean? Like, where they were at the top of the Eastern Conference. I think since Doc Rivers has taken over, there's something like 18-30, you know, as an overall record. Like, they've been really poor with him. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's their coaching staff as a whole. I just think that they played very out of sync basketball thus far. Look, this is an aging team. You know what I mean? This is a team of superstar caliber players, or people who once were superstar caliber players, say Dame, say Brook Lopez, say Giannis Antetokounmpo, who continually are getting older. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you can rely on the same production from a guy like Splash Mountain year in and year out when he's been playing that role for now 5 or 6 seasons, right? Like, you're banking on Giannis being a top 3 player in the NBA, which I think he is and continues to be, right? But you're not getting any younger. And I don't think you've seen the bench depth or the progression from some of these guys that you've drafted in order to, like, bolster your roster. You know, you've been at the top of the NBA, but you haven't been winning playoff series. So what does it matter?
Right. And another thing is that they're only 6 guys deep at their best.
Correct.
They are 6 guys deep, and that is not enough to win you a playoff series.
I agree. I don't think the Gary Trent Jr. move was a good one for them. I don't think that helps them at all. You're still relying on Pat Connaughton to play a lot of minutes. You're still relying now on, Bobby Portis to continue to play like 20 minutes a game. But like, if you look at the box score, their starters are playing 30 plus minutes every night. Some of them almost 40 minutes a night, which is, to be expected by some teams, right? Like
it's another team style. It's another team that you can't do that with. Correct. Their three best players are glass houses.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
All right, let's move to the Western Conference now.
Okay.
Talk to me, what do you think is the most surprising thing from the first week of basketball in the Western Conference that you've seen so far?
I would say the most surprising thing that I have seen from the Western Conference so far has been the shell of a team that the Nuggets look like right now. They're 2-2, but they have gone to overtime against two below 500 teams. You know what I mean? They lost in convincing fashion to the Thunder on night one. The Thunder decimated them, which is why I think that they have solidified themselves as the number one seed in the West. They lose to the Clippers, a team that seemingly also has very little direction right now, especially without Kawhi. That being said, shout out Norman Powell, Ivan Zubac, and James Harden for continuing to win games with a team that just is kind of out of sync right now. And then you take a Raptors team that's 1-3 to overtime and beat them, but you were down 5 points with like 40 seconds left. You know what I mean? So like that just comes with inexperience from that team. And the same thing happened with the Brooklyn Nets, a team that you were losing to, that their inexperience kicked in, and then you beat them in overtime miraculously by 5 points. I don't know how much Nikola Jokic can do for you. You know what I mean? Like, he is clearly the perennial player in the NBA right now. Like, he is a top 3 player in the NBA right now. He's almost averaging a triple-double.
I think he's the clear number one.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily disagree. I think that the conversation has to be him, Giannis, Shea, and Luka. Those are the 4.
That is the 4.
But he has been surrounded by players consistently that have not been all-star caliber, right? You thought Jamal Murray maybe takes that jump one year, especially after the championship year. He never really has. In the regular season, he's kind of played poorly for the past 2 seasons. Michael Porter Jr. has not looked good thus far. Aaron Gordon has been very good as a role piece, but he doesn't have that extra piece of help. You know what I mean?
It's not what he's there. It's not what he's there for, though.
Who? Aaron Gordon?
Aaron Gordon's not there to give you a scoring bump every night. Him averaging 15 points is already exceeding expectations.
I agree. I think Aaron Gordon is playing his role perfectly. What I'm saying is they seem to be missing some star caliber piece that they used to make up in the aggregate. You know what I mean? Like, this team was built on one superstar player and 4 other starters who were capable of making jump shots and making plays. Top 50, top 30 maybe players, right? But guys who were probably never going to be in an all-star game. That was how the Nuggets kind of worked. Now you lose KCP, you lose a little bit of floor spacing. You're now relying on a third-year Julian Strother, Peyton Watson to play some minutes, and Christian Brown to play like 40 minutes a game, which is way too much, in my opinion. You get Russell Westbrook in free agency. He doesn't work for your offensive set, in my opinion. I wouldn't be shocked if they get rid of him at the deadline, or if they just wait.
So I think it's too early. We had this conversation in our preview. I was very much on the side that if they're going to be good, like, they will not be good unless he changes.
Yeah.
And so far he hasn't changed. I guess he's changed a little, but he is not he just doesn't fit into their offense. And it's actually staggering when he's on the floor how stagnant they are. There's no moving around. It is the Russell Westbrook show. And we've known that this is going to happen. It is not too late. Like, it is too early to say this definitively will not work. I, however, do not see it changing. I think if you go into the first 2 months of the season like this, it's not only a detriment to your playoff position, but he has to go. And then who do you replace him with?
I think that he's such a problem for floors. Like, his game just doesn't fit. You know what I mean? Like, you bring him in my opinion, and your opinion, when we talked about this in the preseason, we said you bring him in to lead the second unit, right? Be a mentor, be a leader for the second unit. But he can't play alongside Nikola Jokic. They play the same role. It's just Jokic is 6'11" and in his prime, and Westbrook is 6'4" and out of his prime, right? Like they both want to be assist guys. They both want to be rebounders, and they both want to play in the paint. So you can't have them on the same side of the floor because it just limits your floor spacing. You know what I mean? I think Russ is shooting a decent percentage from three right now. But that being said, like I'm looking at the box score here against this Brooklyn Nets
he's shooting
team,
25%,
which is bad. So he's not shooting well. He had 22 points in 21 minutes against the Brooklyn Nets. I look at that and I go, you're shooting way too much. He took
12 shots.
He went 5 for 12. Many. I think that's too many.
5 for 10 or 3 for 10 from inside the arc.
Bad. Like it's just not. Those numbers are not sustainable for a team that's trying to compete for a championship right now. And again, they're going through the same thing that I think the Bucks are going through, where like your championship window is right now. You know what I mean? Like how much longer can you sustain being in this window before that OKC Thunder team just becomes the team in the West?
I mean, like legitimately, if you are a contender in the West, you have to go all in for the next 2 years, I think. Yeah. I think that they are ready to run that conference for the next 5 to 6 years.
Just wait till OKC has like 4 first-round draft picks the next 3 years, 3 seasons.
Well, but then they run into a tragedy of the commons issue, right?
Correct.
They run into we don't have time to develop these guys.
Yep.
So that's something that you think about with that team. What else do we have to talk about? Let's talk about the Lakers real quick.
Yeah.
I said let's talk about them. What do we have to talk about? Are they good? Are they bad?
I think you kind of have to commend them thus far. Look, they've lost. They played a really tough schedule to start off the season here. They play the Cavs and they lose badly the other night. They played the Kings, the T-Wolves, and the Suns twice, right? You split with the Suns, you beat the T-Wolves, you beat the Kings, and then you lose to the Cavs. They have shot the ball very poorly from three, very poorly, and they have still been able to win games. LeBron has looked really bad right now, in my opinion. He almost broke his streak of not getting a 10-point game the other night. I was watching it against the Suns. But I think the most important thing that I'm seeing that JJ Redick is doing is he's putting the ball in Anthony Davis's hands and is kind of just giving him the keys. You know what I mean? Like this is, in my opinion, this is the first time the Lakers have been Anthony Davis's team. Like through and through, this is the guy that we're going through. I think that they've gotten solid minutes and solid looks from guys like Dalton Knecht and Rui Hachimura. D'Lo continues to be like one of the most hot and cold players in the NBA, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
I don't think you can disagree with
that playoff series.
Yeah.
But Knecht has looked really good. To be honest with you, he's looked like one of the best rookies in the league right now. And I can't think of another rookie that's playing over 7 minutes a game right now. You know what I mean? Which is insane. Aside from Ryan Dunn, who was the 28th pick to the Phoenix Suns and has looked
Ryan Dunn's been very good so far this year.
An absolute stud. But yeah, I don't really know what the direction of this team is right now. Well, I mean, I do. I think they're trying to win now, but I think I've been very impressed with the way that JJ has coached them thus far.
Yeah, I would agree when you said commending not only the JJ Redick, but the team as a whole. I think that this is the first time that they have clear roles on this team because it's always been kind of a yin and yang between Davis and James when they're both healthy.
Yep.
I think this is the first time in LeBron's career where he is a clear and obvious number 2 option. And I think with that is going to come some growing pains. Obviously, you be the best player in the world for 22 straight years. There's going to be growing pains when you're asked to take a seat and let someone else take the keys, right? But it's working so far. And I think that once he kind of fits into that number 2 role, who's still going to give you 22, 6, and 7 a night, you know what I mean? He then facilitates for Davis. He facilitates for Reeves, who kind of now is a clear-cut option for them.
I agree.
You know exactly what you're getting with him, which has kind of been up in the air for the last couple of years. Rui Hachimura is also in that same stage. You know exactly what you're getting with him, and he's been very good. I agree with what you said about D'Angelo Russell. You just don't know. On any night, he could either go 7 for 8 from 3 and give you a 30 ball, or he could be 1 of 12 from 3. And I think that's what it really comes down to.
Yeah, I think Knecht and Reeves play a very similar role. on this team, and I think replacing one with the other is like kind of a nice 1-2 punch to have for this team, where you can have a guy come in and just knock down a three. You know, Reeves has been their best 3-point shooter this season thus far. And I do think that they are trending upwards. I would imagine that they will be a playoff team. I don't know how much of a contender they're going to be, but they look good right now. Despite
I think the roster buildup is just good. I mean, they also have hustle guys coming off the bench like Gabe Vincent, Max Christie.
I think JJ is starting to prove that he can coach basketball, which was definitely a concern coming in. Was like, obviously,
it is too early.
A friend of LeBron. It's too early. It's way too early. But the way that he speaks in the media, like these things, like I kind of have like the way that he has conducted himself thus far. But yeah, so that's all I got with the Lakers right now. It's a team that I'm going to continue to watch because I do think that they're one of those teams that could either look really, really good on a given night or really, really bad. And it's just making sure that those bad nights don't get out of hand.
Yeah. I think that they are a team that finishes top 5.
Okay.
I think that they lose. I think any team in the West loses to the Thunder right now. But obviously, again, way too early.
I agree.
Let's move on to some football talk. We've done enough basketball. Actually, let's quickly touch on the Celtics. Celtics are 4-1. They lost to the Pacers last night. They were down 24 in the last 6 minutes of the game and came all the way back to tie it and send it in overtime. Yeah, and obviously lose on a Siakam buzzer beater.
Yep.
I don't really think that's cause for concern.
Nope. I don't either.
I have been extremely comfortable with our team so far this year.
Yeah, I think we look really good. I'm not nervous about that. 82-0 is now off the table though, which sucks.
Yeah, it blows.
Dang.
No. Let's talk about NFL.
Okay.
Last week, let's just touch on some kind of bullet point things here. The Commanders' Hail Mary was absolutely awesome.
It was good for football.
It was great for football. The Commanders being good. Like, they are the new fun team.
Yeah, they're so fun. They're so fun. I think the Bears are pretty fun, too.
No, dude, the Bears are boring as hell. The Bears offense, oh my God. All right, let's do this because I bought in so heavy on their offense. And now I'm 1-7 in my fantasy league. Bears offense for 3.5 quarters is like gouging your eyes out with a pair of tweezers. Like bit by bit, you have to slowly extract your eyes out. And then for some reason in the last 6 minutes of the game, DeAndre Swift becomes the best RB in the NFL.
He just breaks a 54-yard run.
Caleb Williams somehow can escape the pocket. Their offensive line is so bad. I mean, so bad. It's like watching the Bengals in past years where like you're like, oh my God, like this team is totally going to be so good. But then you forget that their offensive line is so bad that whenever Joe Burrow drops back on 3rd and long, it's a guaranteed sack. The Bears are the same way. They are so unfun to watch. And I wish I didn't buy in on them so heavily until the last 6 minutes of the game when they become one of the most fun teams in the NFL.
Okay. I like that. I like that take. But yeah, no, I think we both been, Commanders second fans for this entire season. Obviously, you owning a Washington.
Nothing. It's not even Washington. It's just a jersey.
It's just a red maroon jersey. It has nothing on it. But I think they've been super fun to watch this year. Jaden Daniels is continuing to make his case for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Potentially, some people are saying an MVP candidate. I don't see that yet. But
I don't think you can make that argument yet.
They have looked really, really good. Terry McLaurin is almost a lock for 1,000 yards receiving season, which is like really strange considering
he's awesome,
no quarterback play. But it seems like they got their guy, and as long as he's healthy, I'm happy with it. Yeah, there you go. That's the blank jersey right there.
The Washington misprints.
But yeah, so I mean, I think they take the cake right now for the number one most fun team in the NFL, a team that I want to watch more so than any other team. That being said, my second favorite, now most fun team to watch is any team that Jameis Winston is throwing a football on. Because goddamn,
it's awesome.
This ball is awesome.
Who else in the NFL could could have an interception drop. Like literally could not have thrown a more perfect pass to Kyle Hamilton, one of the best safeties in the NFL, and have it drop for the game, and then throw a 45-yard touchdown dot the next play. Who else is doing that?
He threw 3 surefire interception passes and then 3 dot touchdowns. There is no in between. It is either
before the game, he was doing a huddle with like all his boys, and they were all in. He was like, "Come on in, I'm gonna give a speech." And then he goes, "We play for the name that's on the helmets." Oh shit, we don't have a name on our helmets.
No, I didn't see that. No, I saw him quote Eminem after the game though, which was great. He went, "A wise man from Detroit once said, 'You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow.'" And kept talking.
He is good for the NFL. I hope he never retires.
He's awesome. This is the classic Browns football moment where a backup quarterback comes in, plays better than the starter, and then you never hear from them again because they go someplace else and like have a decent career. But I could live, the rest of my life watching Jameis Winston play football, and every single time he has the ball, something horrendous or amazing to happen.
It's gonna be fun.
There is no in between. He is the most erratic quarterback I have ever seen.
You want to talk about entertaining football? He's not going to have more than 6 plays in a drive. He's either going to throw a pick or a touchdown before that. He's going to end the day with 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he could have anywhere between 1 and 5 interceptions.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know. And they won, and they beat the Ravens, which is funny.
The commentator for the Ravens Browns game at the end of the game, he was like, Jameis Winston's stat line today, 321 yards, 3 touchdowns, but most surprising to everyone, no interceptions. Because he wanted one.
He was trying so hard to get one.
He certainly was.
I will have Browns football on my Octobox if they're playing because of Jameis Winston. And I don't care who he's throwing the ball to. David and Jerry.
You're going to watch the Browns play the Chargers this week?
I am. I'm going to watch that game.
Fair enough. That's shameful, but fair enough.
I'm going to watch the highlights of that game.
There it is. That's what I'm looking for. I'm going to watch that game when all the games that I'm watching are done before it, and then I get the bonus coverage for the last minute and a half. Yeah. I'm going to watch Justin Herbert take 2 kneels at the end of that game.
Right. But love the Browns when Jameis Winston is playing. Love Jameis Winston. I mean, he is great for the NFL.
He is.
Moving on to a team that I hate watching. Every single game is just an absolute slog fest.
Wait. I was going to be like, say it on 3. Steelers are horrible to watch. Dude, do you think the Steelers are the worst? 6-2? Do you think they're the worst 6-2 team in the history of the NFL?
Do you remember when they went 11-0 and then lost the last 5 games of the season and the first round of the playoffs? And everybody's like, "This team is
Baker
horrible."
Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns.
Like, this team is horrible. And
Chase Claypool said that he was the. Chase Claypool said that he genuinely believed that he was the greatest wide receiver of all time.
Was that the Corvette year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, it was.
Bad year up until the Cleveland Browns knocked them out of the playoffs.
It was just bad year.
I don't know how they don't play anyone. You know what I mean? Like, they haven't beaten an above 500 team, and they're 6-2. Like, Mike Tomlin's got something, some juju magic something that gets him to 500 every year. Because they're stacking wins, an 18-10 win over the Falcons, a 13-6 win over the Broncos, a 20 like, these wins suck.
Dude, if you asked me before we started recording, if you were like, JB, how many wins do you think the Steelers have? I'd be like 4 maximum, 2. I don't know. I haven't watched a single Steelers game this year. I don't even think that I could name. I mean, they've played 3 primetime games, and I haven't watched any of them. I've been so uninterested.
And they've all been horrible. The Giants Steelers primetime game was gross. Like, get it off the screen, dude. That being said, the one thing that you can write home about the Steelers is their defense is really, really good.
Always.
Their offense is hard to watch.
I mean,
every
that's why
single game they play is just a grind.
It's the argument about, is Mike Tomlin a good coach, right? Like, Mike Tomlin will get you to 500, and you will probably get a wild card playoff spot every year. He's going to do it playing the worst brand of football. It's going to be so conservative. You are going to rely on your defense to be incredible and your offense to put up no more than 20 points a game and still eke out wins. And that's literally cannot win more than one round in the playoffs, which is why he's been considered a bad coach in the last 5 years.
Right. Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think Arthur Smith being signed as your offensive coordinator after not handing the ball off to a generational running back prospect for an entire year is probably not the direction that I would have gone in if I was
certainly not. Yeah, certainly
the Steelers. But getting off of Matt Canada, great move. You know what I mean?
Tomato. You know what I mean?
He was bad, but I can't imagine that there wasn't someone better that you could have found for this. But yeah, I mean, the Steelers continue to win. They only need 3 more wins to be above 500. So, like, they're going to get there, and they
probably
keep
the most
stacking
boring
wins
fashion
against horrendous teams. They're the top of their division. They're the top of the AFC North with the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Browns. This is not the best. This team is only better than the Browns. They're worse than the Ravens. They're worse than the Bengals. It's bad.
They have a really tough schedule at the end of the year. And they have 2 games against the Browns. Those are probably 2 guaranteed wins, right? So now you're at 8. They have, from here on out, they have to play the Commanders, the Ravens twice, the Bengals, the Eagles, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Bengals again. They might not get there. They need an upset.
Schedule.
They need an upset.
They have a tough remaining schedule. A team that you mentioned in there is the Bengals. And I want to get your take on the game that we saw this weekend between the Bengals and the Eagles, where the Eagles kind of blew them out, which was not something that I was expecting. I was expecting the Eagles, who looked really poor these past couple of weeks, to kind of drop the ball here, but they win 37-17. So my question to you is, are the Eagles like a legitimate championship contender again, or is it just the Bengals are just not the team that we're expecting them to be this year?
I mean, we went on a big Bengals rant last week. I don't really think that I need to like rehash my words there. I think the Bengals are mediocre.
Okay.
And I think that the Eagles were finally healthy for the first time all year, and you kind of saw what they really were. So
fair. All right.
Pretty simple answer there.
Yeah. No need to mix your words up. I mean, I think you'll see the Eagles win the NFC East.
You want to talk about a team that's boring? Kansas City Chiefs.
So boring.
They're 7-0.
So boring.
And no one cares. Like they aren't even making waves. Like if you like look on TV, no one is saying like the Chiefs are super good right now. They are really mediocre.
Bro, they haven't scored 30 points yet. Mahomes has looked bad.
Mahomes has just looked bad. And they're 7-0.
They're another team that's kind of played no one aside from, I guess, the Ravens week 1, and they're inevitably going to win a shit ton of games, probably make it to the Super Bowl and, break my heart once again. But I don't think
they have a big test this week.
No one's going to be happy when that happens. The Bucs is a big test for them.
I guess you're right. Yeah, I mean, they beat the 49ers. That's a big win. The 49ers did have nobody that game, and it was close until the fourth quarter, so maybe it wasn't a big win.
I mean, the AFC
I would say
West is
notable wins.
Horrible.
Notable wins: Ravens, Falcons, Niners.
Bills? Have they played the Bills yet? No?
Nope.
Okay. Ravens played the Bills, that's right. Look, they play in the AFC West, which is the worst division in football from what we've picked. The Raiders, the Chargers, and the Broncos, and then you have the Chiefs, so they're going to win every game in the AFC West. And if they don't, that would be shocking to me. You know what I mean?
Here, like, on the complete contrary, here, like, from the Steelers, the complete opposite from the Steelers.
Yeah.
The Chiefs still play a Bucs team without Godwin or Mike Evans.
Yep.
The Denver Broncos, the Carolina Panthers, the Raiders.
Broncos twice, yeah.
The Chargers, the Browns, and the Steelers and the Broncos, right? Like, they have – I'm looking on the schedule. They have a tough game against the Bills, and they're going to have a tough game against the Texans. Those are the only 2 games that I see them losing.
Yeah. If that.
Right, if that. Like those two are probably competitive. So,
and they're going to win those games in absolutely don't want to watch it fashion, the way that they've just been playing thus far.
Yeah.
So there's that. You know, I mean, they've been
it just
hard
sucks,
to
dude. They're going to win the Super Bowl.
I know, and
they're going to win the Super Bowl, and we're going to have to do an episode about it.
It's going to hurt.
We're going to have to talk about them being as good as the Patriots dynasty.
Yeah, which I don't want.
No,
really don't want that. All right. On the subject of the Patriots, though, you saw the Patriots this weekend completely demoralize New York.
Oh my God!
Again.
It's actually been a great week for Boston fans, beating the Jets and then watching the Yankees lose the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? And this is just objectively a fact.
Okay.
The Jets this year have their highest expectations in my lifetime. 30 years, probably.
Probably since Mark Sanchez.
I would say longer.
Really?
I would say much longer than that, actually, yeah. The Patriots this year have their lowest expectations since Drew Bledsoe was drafted. If we're being honest, since Bledsoe was drafted, they both have the same record right now. They are both 2-6.
Okay. Unreal.
The Jets are just bad at football, dude.
They are.
Do you think that Davante Adams will actually be a factor? Like, he's been pretty bad his first 2 weeks. Do you think that he will figure it out? And do you think that it's Aaron Rodgers' fault?
I don't even know what the issue with this team is. Like, I really don't. Like, there are no holes. Looking at it on paper, I guess Aaron Rodgers has to take some of the blame for not hitting his targets. But you have a top 5 back in the NFL in Breece Hall.
Top 2.
And then you have two. Yeah. And then you have 2 really good receivers. Obviously, Davante Adams is probably at the end of his lifeline here as a perennial receiver, but Garrett Wilson is one that is up and coming. You know what I mean? Lazard looks fine. Their defense is supposed to be really good. You know what I mean? Like Sauce Gardner is supposed to be a perennial, perennial corner in the league. Like they can't get stops on Drake May and
not even Drake May. Drake May got concussed in the first quarter. Jacoby Brissett had 25 points.
Yeah, it's weird. I think this Jets team is a team with no direction who fired their head coach way too early and is kind of paying the price for that. And I think that they're going to continue to struggle until some form of, coaching change happens once again. Because I think that firing Saleh and blaming him for the losses was not the right decision. And they're going to need to find their footing quickly because this season seems to be an absolute disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah, clock's ticking. And if they miss the playoffs, it's one of the biggest disappointments in recent NFL history.
I agree.
Yeah, let's get into our picks this week. Oh no, I'm sorry. Right, before we go.
Yeah.
The Lions had a 50 ball this week. They have to be the team to beat in the NFC, right?
Yeah, they look great. They look great. The way that they decimated the Cowboys, who, all right, albeit have looked bad. But
they've looked horrible.
Yeah, they're 6-1. They figured out the Vikings the other day to take sole control of the NFC West?
North.
NFC North. They've beaten some pretty decent teams, and their only real down week came against the Bucs with, when they were fully healthy. Look, they have the best 1-2 punch of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery in the league. And teams have had really a lot of problems trying to stop that. As well as the fact that when Jared Goff is playing good football, they're incredibly hard to beat.
He is the epitome of a game manager.
Correct.
And he does his job.
He threw for 85 yards in a 52-point win. Don't know how that happened.
That's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Is that actually the number?
Yeah, 85. 3 touchdowns, 12 for 15 passing, 85 yards.
Good God, that is ridiculous.
So, I mean, they are heavily reliant on their run game, but it's so good that it doesn't even matter. You know what I mean?
That doesn't matter at all. Yeah.
Power back David Montgomery, speed back Jahmyr Gibbs, and their defenses look better than people thought it would. And, with all those things, especially with Aiden Hutchinson going down with an injury, you weren't expecting their defense to continue to get pressure on the quarterback. Now, that being said, Mason Rudolph is a starting quarterback in the NFL right now. So That's bad for the Titans, who is a team with no real direction either. But yeah,
their direction's being bad. They definitely have a direction. It is being one of the worst teams in the NFL.
I think you have to have the Lions as a top one to.
I think they're the team to beat in the NFC right now.
I agree with that.
All right, let's move into our picks this week, shall we?
Let's do it.
We need a bounce back week real.
Yeah, we do.
Horrible last week, and I don't want to just say that lightly. We were really bad. So I have first pick this week. I think this one's a clear and obvious number one. I think our number one and number two are both clear and obvious. Yeah. I have the Commanders -4 over the New York Giants.
Okay, I don't hate that pick at all. I think the Commanders will look better than they did last week, and the Giants have looked, again, another team with very little direction, it seems, at the moment. Although Malik Neighbors continues to be really friggin' good.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, I thought the most obvious pick after Jack took the number one overall one was the Texans +2.5 over the Jets. I don't know why you're still favoring the 2-6 Jets. I guess the answer is they're at home. But in my opinion, the Jets are going to jet. They're going to lose this weekend. And I think that CJ Stroud walks into MetLife and gets it done.
Yeah, we are fading the hell out of MetLife this week.
Yeah.
My second pick, I think the Cowboys have looked horrible. I said this when I was making my pick before the show. I'm picking this one because I really want to root for this team over the Cowboys. I got the Falcons -3. I think they've looked good, and I just like watching them play football, and I hate the Cowboys. It's a win-win.
That Bucs-Falcons game is probably the best game I've seen all year. And because of that, I don't hate the pick at all. I don't really know what I'm getting from the Falcons ever, but I can't hit a pick on them. Another team that we just kind of got done hating on, even though they're 7-0. I don't think that the Chiefs have been really good against the spread this year. And I think that despite the fact that the Bucs are down a bunch of receivers, this is a game that I feel like the Chiefs could lose or could be very close. And for that reason, I'm going to take the Bucs at +8.5 against the Chiefs.
Yep. My third pick. This one's really going to depend on if Drake May plays or not, I think, in my opinion.
Yep.
I have the Patriots +3.5 against the Titans in Tennessee. Not really a hard place to go play. Coming off a win against the Jets. Team kind of looks actually pretty fun to watch right now. They're not good, but they're fun to watch.
Yeah, they look
if Drake May plays, I think this is free. If Jacoby Brissett plays, we'll see. It's a bar, actually. It's hard as hell.
Yeah, damn. Unfortunately, a bar. And then another team that we just kind of got done talking about, I'm going to take the Bears +1.5 over the Cardinals. I think they have a bounce back week this week, and I think Caleb Williams continues to establish himself as a growing rookie quarterback, not one that's, I don't think he's great yet. You know what I mean?
It's a fun pick.
Stretch of the imagination,
for sure.
But it's a game that I kind of want to watch.
Yeah, that's a fun pick.
So there we go.
My game of the week pick, we went with Lions-Packers. I believe they're in Green Bay.
They are.
They are in Green Bay at Lambeau. Mm-hmm. I think the Lions go in there, and I think they get it done. They are -2.5. I don't think that's big enough for the Packers, to be honest with you. But yeah, I got the Lions.
For the fun of it, I'll take the Packers. I think the Lions probably win, but a little bit of differentiation here and there is usually a good thing.
You're a fool.
So I'm going to take the Packers here to beat the Lions at home.
And then for not game of the week, we have maybe the worst game in NFL history.
It's so bad, dude. I mean, we picked Patriots Titans, which is potentially the worst game in NFL history.
No, this one's worse. This one is miles worse, especially if Spencer Rattler is quarterback.
Okay.
That would be Panthers Saints.
Yeah.
Let me go check and see if Derek Carr is playing. He's questionable. I am actually going to take. I can't take the Panthers in good faith. I have to.
You can't.
I have to change on. I have to change on the spot. I was going to go Panthers. If Spencer Rattler is quarterback, I stand by my Panthers pick. I can't take them in good faith. I'm going Saints.
Give me the Saints in a game that I will probably shoot my TV if it comes on.
Yeah, there's no way I watch. Is this a 4:00 game?
I have no idea. I don't even want to know.
I can't even.
I don't even.
No, 1:00 game.
Scott Hansen, if this comes on Red Zone, just know I will show up at your door. I do not want to see a second of this game.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, I believe that ends our episode.
Yeah, that's it.
As always, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with more content. But until then, I'm Jack Burnt.
And I'm Alex Penders.
Corner 3. What? Corner 3.
Happy Halloween.